Joining me from the United Kingdom for an analysis of the situation in France is a global affairs analyst, Femi Okutubo. Thank you for joining us on The World Now. At least 800 people have so far been arrested during protests in connection with the fatal shooting of Nahel M. What do you make of the situation in that country now?
Thank you so much for having me. The situation in France right now is quite an unfortunate one, but it's also a reflection of, this didn't start overnight in terms of the fact that there's always been a situation where there's so much suspicion and on the part of the community, especially Arabs and Blacks, with the kind of treatment that they receive from the police. So what we probably have seen here is a bottling up of anger over the years. For example, statistics from one of the news agencies says that between 2017 and last year, there have been about 13 deaths of young, and most of them, of those ones, most of them are actually young Black Arabs. So it's quite an unfortunate situation, which I think hasn't been helped by the situation, by the fact that there were police laws that gave police powers to actually shoot at people on the street in certain situations. One of 5 situations. One of them being a situation where if one fails to stop at a traffic point. But as you can see in this particular circumstance, there's actually a lot more that hasn't been said. The initial police account was that the gentleman or the young man was trying to run away. That's since been proved as otherwise, that he was actually shot at point blank range. So there's a lot in there, but I think it's a reflection of something that's been bottled up over the years.
Indeed, and because this has taken such a violent turn, and quite a number of people wouldn't have expected it to get to the level that it is at the moment. But let's talk about managing the situation. The French president has said that all options are being considered, and that might just include a state of emergency. Do you see it getting to that point?
It's quite possible that it gets to that point, because what has happened is that beyond the immediate vicinity of the incident, it's actually spread to other parts of the country, as well. So places like Toulouse and Lille and all that. So and the violence is actually continuing unabated. There've been loss of property and almost loss of lives as well. So if things are not put in check, it can easily escalate on levels that are unimaginable. Initially, the reaction of the French president, when it initially happened, was to actually condemn the killing, which would have been a little bit unusual, because you wouldn't expect the French president, part of the executive, to throw a representative or a staff of one of its agencies under the bus. But obviously, I think that was done to try and sort of calm down nerves. That hasn't worked so far, and it looks like if things are not really brought under control, it might end up being even more than has been planned.
It now looks like, a case of the people against the government, and the dimension it's taken. Properties are being looted, items, infrastructure is being burnt, and no one really knows where this might just take us, because this is like destroying public infrastructure, and the people who are not necessarily involved in this are getting to bear the brunt of this violent protest. What do you make of all of this?
I'll put it this way: as far as a lot of people are concerned in France, this is something that could have happened to them, or that could have happened to their families as well. This is a very young lad, a 17-year-old, an only child of his mother, who never knew who never knew his father, according to reports. So for him to have left home that morning and not return home, obviously is something that is quite unfortunate. It's not something that is viewed in good light, even from government officials, even from the average person on the street. So be that as it may, and because there have also been situations where, for example, in the past where police have sort of killed people on the streets, there has been a vented of anger, and it's that vented anger that we actually see playing itself on the streets right now. I also feel that to some extent, one could also link it to the economic climate in the West, and especially in Europe, to the extent that, as far as people are concerned, this is someone from the migrant community who's trying to sort of make a living, and unfortunately, the average sentiment of the number of people is that perhaps, said or unsaid, you're not necessarily welcome here.
And already now the United Nations is speaking about this matter, telling France to urgently address the issues of deep issues of racism in law enforcement. Do you see that charge, actually being taken and worked on by France, and going beyond France, actually, because this is an issue that is not peculiar to that country?
Yes, and you're right to actually say that, because in reality, it's not something that is peculiar to France. Here in the United Kingdom, we've actually had serious issues between the police and the community, and especially the Black community. And officially, the Metropolitan Police, which is the police force for London, has been tagged as being institutionally racist. So it's not a case of just individuals being racist, but as an institution, the way policing has actually, is actually being run is tagged as being racist as an institution. And if you ask me, if you're going to compare UK and France, I think things are even a lot more subtle here in the United Kingdom compared to France. And I say that from personal experience, having visited France on a few occasions, and even from media reports as well. So what you're saying, basically, so whether, I think it's about time that the government does something about it, because otherwise it's going to sort of get out of hand. And as you can see, this is about three days or 3 nights running, and yes, this is still not on. This is still not coming to an end as we speak. So definitely, it's something the government has to definitely look at it and look for a way of improving our relations between the police and the community at large, especially the Arab and the Black communities and migrant communities as a whole.
And already President Macron has cut short his participation at the EU summit in Brussels. We really do hope this is managed and peace returns to that country. Thank you very much for talking to us, Global Affairs Analyst Femi Okutubo. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.